All right, everybody. What's going on? What is going on? How are we all feeling today? We got some pretty extended Luffy versus Kizaru action. Good stuff. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. 35 minutes early. Wait, what time was this? What was it scheduled for? 7 p.m.? 8 p.m. EST? Oh my god. I'm not joking. I thought it was scheduled for 8:15. I swear I thought it was scheduled for 8:15. I swear I thought it was scheduled for 8:15 EST. I swear I thought it was scheduled for 8:15 EST. Yeah, I think it's fair to boo me. That's my bad. Because I'm not joking. Isn't it usually scheduled for 15? It's usually scheduled on Thursdays. It's usually scheduled for 8:15 p.m. EST. I swear. So I thought I was only like 20 minutes late, or 15 minutes late. Not an NPC says don't pretend to be our friend after what you did. Well, I could see that I started the stream. I could tell people were mad, so I was like, they're mad because I'm late as usual. And then I saw people saying 35 minutes late. And I was like, 35? That sounds a little late. Like that sounds later than usual. But I guess that's what it is. Uchek, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 12 months. A year already. Holy shit. A year already? Yeah, holy shit. I think a year since people started becoming members. Uchek, I appreciate you. You've always been around for a long time. I'm not lying. I truly believe that it was set for 8:15 p.m. EST. But either way, I would have been late. I just would have been... Yeah, Loud Waffle said you'd still be 20 minutes late, LMFAO. Yeah, but in my mind, I'm like, that's in the acceptable. I think 35 minutes is too late. It wasn't 35, though. It was like 34, it looks like. It says this stream started at 7:34 p.m. If that helps at all. DuckDuck20, thanks for the 2 thoughts on the Jujutsu Kaisen chapter. Oh, I was hoping somebody would ask about that. Here's the thing. Reichi says Lord Morj has graced us with his presence. I am sorry. I don't want to be 35 minutes late. 15 to 20, that's a totally different ballgame. Time is speeding up. Oh, is Poochie using his stand? Michael McCoy, thanks for the 2. Lord's the late one. Did you see the Jujutsu Kaisen leaks? Jolly D. Joester says Gojo. I'm so happy that everybody's on board. People want me to talk about this because I was thinking like, I'll have to, sometimes you guys get mad when I talk about the NBA. But it seems like it's okay if I talk about Gojo a little bit. Yeah. OG3 says y'all are gonna spoil people on Jujutsu Kaisen. Okay, fuck. How do I not spoil people on Jujutsu Kaisen? Who here is up to date with Jujutsu Kaisen? Who here is never gonna... Okay. Let me do a poll real quick. Okay. How much you follow Jujutsu Kaisen? Up to date. Not caught up. Not caught up and don't care. Okay, wait. Okay, there we go. We might just do depending on how the poll goes, we might just do a section to talk about it because it's just too cool not to talk. I mean, it's too significant not to talk about. I think it says a lot about Jujutsu Kaisen that it's popular. I can't remember the last time I can think of that a series that wasn't One Piece, for me, made so many ripples that everybody is fucking talking about it, right? Like, I'm tuned into One Piece, so anything big happening in One Piece, fucking obviously I know that. Sometimes something will happen in My Hero or something, and I'll kind of get the gist of it, like, oh, there's a big war going on or something, right? This is the first time that a series that I'm not really that tuned, like, You guys know what I'm saying? I feel like everybody fucking knows what happened or is kind of aware of what's happening in Jujutsu Kaisen right now, you know? When was the last time we had something like that? I feel like Attack on Titan stuff is the last time, you know, the way shit went down in that manga is probably the last time some spoilers were really going around like that. That seeped into everybody's, you know, everybody's feeds, whatever you want to say it, social media, etc. So let's take a look. Okay, 24% of people don't want me to talk about spoilers. 75% do. What we're going to do is there will be a section of the stream where I talk about the spoilers. For you 25%, fuck you guys, but I will respect your opinion. Or I'll respect what you desire. Michael McCoy, thanks for the 2. Lord's late. Oh no, we covered this. Jordan Taylor, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 12 months. 1 year from your worst subscriber. All right. Thanks for the 1 year people. Thank you so much. Seriously. Also, I finally got to the interesting part of Undead Unluck. I'm glad I powered through the weak beginning. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly how I felt too. Because the beginning is ass. It is so fucking bad. It's generally terrible. Beginning is it's awful. It is the most generic, stupid, cringy manga ever for the first like 15 chapters, and then suddenly it's like, never mind, we're gonna do something totally different now. Like, holy shit! All right. I saw someone just say, "Don't." What is Jujutsu Kaisen? So, you know, not necessarily everyone, but like this is a One Piece chat, and 75% of people here are like 50% are caught up, and then another 25 are not caught up, but probably have seen enough of the spoilers that they no longer care, right? So that's a 75% overlap. That's pretty insane. Grizzly Adams, thanks for this 5. Morj, I had to leave before I heard your answer to my question about anti-hockey, and then the VOD got taken down. Oh shit, yeah, so we learned a lesson from last Monday's stream, which was there is a limit to how many sometimes there'll be a video where okay, a little bit if it's copyright claims, so I can trim it out. I opened that one, and every single clip that we watched between the live action Bleach, the live action JoJo's, the live action Death Note, all of them were copyright claims, so there was no salvaging that stream. Like, you can't cut out, it's too difficult. So the whole stream was taken down, basically. So I'm sorry about that. Anti-hockey, I don't like the idea of anti-hockey personally, just because, I mean, we know that Shanks is the killer of observation hockey, so it's technically the foundation is there, but I just like the idea of hockey being, you know, this force that you can't put down because it's literally people's willpower, you know? We will talk Jujutsu Kaisen here. We will talk Jujutsu Kaisen, like, so many people are already talking about it. We will talk Jujutsu Kaisen. I'll just announce a 5-minute, 10-minute segment or something to talk about it, and I'll pin a comment or something so people can see. Sway Shocks, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 2 months. It's too late. It's Gojover. No comment for now. But thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 2 months. Behenor, thanks a lot. I was planning on reading that Jujutsu Kaisen arc in one go. Saw leaks. Isn't this fucking insane? I don't remember the last time that a manga had this type of ripple effect. I think that's a testament to, you know, regardless of how much you like or dislike Jujutsu Kaisen, I think that's pretty cool that it's having this type of effect. I don't remember any point that a Hunter x Hunter chapter came out that had people talking like this. No My Hero chapter. The majority of chats in this One Piece chat has been Jujutsu Kaisen. And that's pretty cool, right? Regardless of how you feel about the chapter, it's pretty cool. Props to, how do you say the author's name? Gege? Geiji? I don't know how to pronounce the author's name, but props to that person. Behano, thanks a lot. You're saying, saw leaks via Twitter. Oh, that's how it ends up, and I did not realize that to readers, it feels like Geje skipped it. Fuck, am I gonna how do I pronounce this author's name? I'm probably gonna have to say it a lot. It feels like Geje skipped a chapter. LMFAO. Yeah. Yeah. I'll expand on my thoughts there. I can say this. I can like the outcome without getting any further. I like the outcome. I think the outcome is right. I think I don't personally like how it happened. Because how it happened isn't personally fun for me to read if I'm rereading that full fight without giving the details of it away. I like to be able to see things. Let's just say that. And also, I can see why some of the comments that a certain character made as he's reflecting on the fight can rub his fan base the wrong way. And I'm not personally as invested in that, but I could understand at the very least. Keenan, thanks for a One Piece question, and thank you for being one of the first, again, year-long members. Yonko tier member for 12 months, man. Out of all the people Kizaru could have picked on, he chose Usopp, the only one who virtually can't give any problems whatsoever. Poor guy. Yeah, well, I mean, Kizaru has been looking good so far, right? You could say he's picking on Usopp, but he's been looking good so far. He hasn't, he hasn't looked pushed or like he's really too worried or concerned just yet. So Kizaru's, I think, been doing a good job. Nerve and V-Maker, thanks for the 5. With breaks increasing every year, how yeah, we got another break after this chapter. That is kind of crazy. How likely do you think it is that Oda will be able to finish One Piece himself? Let's check Oda's age. I think he's 47 or something like that. I might be overshooting it. 48, actually. I was undershooting it. I mean, you know what? It's one of those things that it's just I think no matter what, we're gonna see the end of One Piece written by Oda, right? Unless, God forbid, Act of God or something like that. But I think that's very unlikely. It's one of those things where he has two options, which is either he can really, 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 really push himself, and if he wants to end it in a certain in X number of years, right? He can either really, really push himself and rock with a terrible sleep schedule, push his health a little bit worse, etc. He could really push himself and get it done in a few years, probably, right? If he really, really pushed himself, but it would probably be hell for him. The other option is probably just taking more breaks, etc., and taking his foot off the gas a little bit so it gets done, but then that's sort of extending the misery of having to keep this up for probably an extra 1 or 2, 2-3 years, 1 or 2 years or something like that, maybe. You know what I mean? So it's kind of do you want to just power through and just push through for a few years and get it over with, or you can take it easier on yourself, but it's still going to be rough, and you're prolonging your own suffering for X number of time. It's one of those things, suffering for your art, right? I'm sure that Oda really enjoys drawing One Piece and everything like that, but at the same time, it's difficult. So the one thing I'll say is good is that despite all of the breaks and everything that's happening, I feel like there's no signs of Oda rushing. I feel like he's really, really taking his time to the point that, again, we the readers are shocked by how much random characters and storylines that most of us didn't expect to get focus are getting focus. Kizaru and Sentomaru are getting character focus out of all characters, How many people thought that we'd get potentially a character arc for Kizaru or Sentomaru, We just spent several chapters focusing just on Kobe and a bunch of random-ass new Marines and stuff. So that's a good sign. I'd say that at the end of the day, however difficult it is for Oda, his love of drawing One Piece currently outweighs however his health issues are. One thing I've heard about Bleach, a lot of people say, I think we all know that Bleach was not forced to. People get upset when I say that. Bleach ended at a faster pace than it was supposed to, than Kubo would have liked. What I've heard is that was not because of Shonen Jump, but it was because Kubo himself had health problems, right? So we know that Oda is not in that sort of a space yet, where he's going to have to try and rush just to finish things because his health is so bad. You know what's fucking hilarious, though? Is that Bleach hardcore fans, for the longest time, defended Bleach's ending, saying that it wasn't rushed, it was exactly how Kubo wanted it, just blindly making shit up because they didn't want to acknowledge... Most sane Bleach fans acknowledged that the ending was terrible. But Bleach hardcore super fans were just no, it's not rushed, it was perfect. And the fucking funniest thing is that now 1,000 Year Blood War is basically, the anime, is set up to give us a much more fleshed out version of the story, with Kubo, Kubo literally getting to actually finish the story out how he wanted, right? Actually getting to add the material that he was forced to cut, fleshing out the parts of the story he couldn't before. And now Bleach fans are like, yeah, it's like 1,000 Year Blood War is so awesome, right? Like, the arc's gonna be so much better, etc. So it's like, motherfucker, so like, you guys were just lying before when you were claiming that Kubo had it exactly right? Because if he had it exactly perfect the way he wanted the first time around, then why the fuck would he need to add a whole shit ton of new material to fix it the second time around in the anime? If it was so perfect, then it would just be the same shit, wouldn't it? I don't know. Like, you can't have it both ways. Either you can really say that, okay, 1,000 Year Blood War, the anime, it's really good, but the manga was shit because it clearly was a terrible chopped up version of this. Or you say that the manga was perfect as is, and 1,000 Year Blood War anime is just some unnecessary additional stuff. You can't have it both ways. So, I don't know. The way it's set up right now, by the way, 1,000 Year Blood War, it looks like there's going to be a full core, C-O-U-R, I don't know how to pronounce that word, but I know it's full core's worth of extra material that's coming out to finish out the story. So that's a lot that hit the cutting room floor in Kubo's original version. But anyway, One Piece isn't going to be like that, so let's not even worry. Dear God, if we had to pray for the if Oda had to rush everything and then we had to put our hopes on the fucking One Piece anime to fix things, oh my God, dear Lord. Caleb Brown, thanks for the 2. Setting up Saturn to take control of the Seraphim, right? Yeah, I think so. That's what it looks like. JDG, thanks for the 5. I mean, that's the biggest reason Saturn could be here, right? Out of his hidey hole. JDG, thanks for the 5. The backlash/hate Oda would get from killing a main Straw Hat would be way too much and is the sole reason he won't do it no matter how well done it is. No, I don't think... I think a lot of people would be... It's how it's done, right? Don't look at Jujutsu Kaisen stuff right now and be like, oh, this would fuck up. Like that's how people react if this character died in One Piece or something, right? There's a myriad of reasons of why people are upset about how that went, right? I think a lot is how it's done and the way that the character story is kind of closed out. Character deaths just for the sake of shock value or not saying anything about that's a totally different discussion, right? I'm not sharing my opinions on Jujutsu, but I don't think I'm not critiquing what happened there necessarily. I have a few problems with it, but I also see the upsides, etc. Right? But this just sounds like it's like I'm talking about a similar thing, but I'm not. Right? I'm saying like if you have a character like let's say Usopp, who his entire he has marked out from very early on in the story, his ideal way to die would be being able to go out saying he's a brave warrior of the sea, and his old dream is kind of building him up to reach a point where he can feel that he is a brave warrior of the sea, right? You have a certain character where if it's set up in a manner where you know that character would be able to go out in a way that completes their storyline better than anything else, right? If that is just the most powerful, fitting ending for everything that it's been leading up to, if it gives us something really, really emotional and memorable, right? Something really heart-wrenching that provides a lot of drama or fuel or just dramatic weight to the conclusion of the conflict, right? I think that there's a lot of ways that you can have I think Usopp is the only one that really has the setup where it would feel potentially... Oda would still have to do it really, really fucking well. Like, make him go out in an amazing way, make that the greatest Usopp moment of all time, make it the most emotional One Piece moment of all time, make it mean something, have a significant impact in the story, and really feel like it closes a character out in a really, really special way that feels almost better than anything else. Like, if you give us that bittersweet feeling, right? I mean, Oda killed Mary, which is obviously not the same thing, but you know what I'm saying? Just Mary, but amp it up times 20. And I also think that at the end of the day, a lot of people like Usopp, but it's not like... If you look at the popularity polls and stuff like that, we're not talking about like Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, stuff like that. Even Nami, Frankie, Robin, even Chopper. Like, I think Usopp is low enough on a lot of people's personal favorites. I don't know how many people. There's a very small number of people that would say Usopp is their favorite character. So it's almost like in so many ways, like, Usopp would be perfect. He's the one Straw Hat that I think if he were to die, it would almost do more for his character and his legacy in the series and impact for the readers, etc. than if he didn't. However, I agree that it's very, 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 very fucking possible that Oda never kills one of the Straw Hats as the main characters. I think that that's very, very possible. I'm just saying that if we had to make an argument for one, it'd probably be Usopp. Ignorant Weed, thanks for the 2. Do people of One Piece even know about Gorosei? I think they do. I think at least everyone mildly important does. It's probably, like, the thing is, do the people of One Piece, a lot of them don't even know about the Yonko. You know what I mean? Like, the Yonko were news to a lot of the Straw Hats. I think they hadn't heard of them till Garp explained it, you know? So, it depends, like... And that's, to be fair, that's, they're all from small villages and stuff. Everybody people did seem to know who Whitebeard was when the Marineford War was approaching and we were cutting around. So it's a complicated question. So that's a poor comparison, let's say. But the Gorosei, I don't know. I'm going to say yes, a lot of people know about them, but it's probably not that popular. Louis Sommers, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 6 months. So is my dream of getting Manga Morj Berserk content fully dead? It is in a deep coma. Also, really interesting video about Kizaru. I'm excited to see what Oda does with him. Really interesting video about Kizaru. I'm excited. Oh, thanks for the... Yeah, no, I enjoyed making that video. Kizaru seems like a really cool character to follow for the rest of this arc. I think just the potential that we're getting out of the Marines right now, I think they're quickly becoming... You know, I didn't think about it, but I think in all of the characters in One Piece... all of the factions that we've seen, the Marines have by far the most potential for nuanced character writing, just because they're the ones caught in the middle, right? Because we understand Celestial Dragons, true bad guys, right? Celestial Dragons, world government, etc., right? Pirates, a lot of them are either just bad guys like Kaido Big Mom, or good guys like Luffy Shanks, right? And then you got the Marines, who so many of them are... in the Marines to actually do good things, right? They come in with the right intentions, etc. They just aren't fully aware that they're working for the bad guys. So the Marines are the most interesting faction at the moment because they're caught in the middle. And so many of them have to decide a little bit, you know, are we going to recognize what's going on? Are we going to learn? Are we going to change things? Are we going to try and break away from what we're supposed to do? Or are we going to keep doing what we're told? And that's kind of what's being set up in the near future. So you've got guys like Aokiji that have already switched. You've guys got guys like Garp, who it's probably too late to switch. He's known the Celestial Dragons are bad from the start, but he's still on the Marine side at the end of the day. You got Kobe, who could lead the way to the Marines being very different in the future, but he's probably not going to leave the Marines. You got Smoker, who might have to realize that he has to leave the Marines. You've got Kizaru, who, like, characters that I never even thought would be facing this sort of moral crisis. You've got Kizaru, who seems set up to have a moral crisis of his own by the end of this arc. I wouldn't be surprised if Kizaru doesn't leave the Marines or doesn't rebel or anything like that. I'm not saying he's going to, but I think it's cool that we're starting to actually delve into what's going on inside for him, because it's not as cut and dry and as simple as he makes it appear on the surface. So, I don't know. I think the potential for him as a character is tremendous this arc. Ignorant Weed. That's a funny name. Kizaru knew Usopp is the real problem. God, Usopp. I mean, Usopp's got a good bounty. He's got a big bounty. If Kizaru's going by bounty, then, you know, it's not a bad call. MPA Slick, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 12 months. What's good, Senor Morgan Freeman? Would you prefer a Roger spinoff, kind of how Magi had a spinoff for Sinbad, or a Void Sentry spinoff, or Next Gen? I think Next Gen would not be that interesting for One Piece just because of the way that I imagine the series wrapping up, which would be, I think that the Great Age of Pirates would mostly come to an end. I think that there would be a very, very different era that comes out of it. Because at the end of the day, like, we have a romanticized view of pirates in One Piece, but the reality is that the existence and widespread proliferation of pirates is an unfortunate consequence of the inequalities created by the world government system, right? So once you kind of resolve that, then you create a very different world where, in theory, you know, you wouldn't have a bunch of evil pirates roaming around that need to be defeated by good guy pirates and stuff like that. So I'm not interested in Next Gen, really. I also don't like... One thing I don't like about Next Gen, and maybe I'm just making this assumption off of Boruto, but I don't like the idea of new characters just surpassing the ones that we follow. Like, not surpass, but just, like, you know, overtaking the achievements, etc., of the characters that we've followed for so long. Because, you know, we're spending 1,100 chapters watching Luffy work his way up to be Pirate King, right? Zoro becomes World's Strongest Swordsman, right? It's 1,100 chapters. It'll be 1,213 by the time it's done. I don't want to watch, like, a spin-off manga where, like, Luffy's son just is as strong as Luffy within the first couple hundred chapters or something. Like, Zoro gets passed up as World's Strongest Swordsman, like, pretty quick. It just cheapens the whole thing. Even with Bleach, I don't like the fact that, like, oh, it looks like Ichigo's kid already has even greater potential than Ichigo, like some magic bullshit powers that even Ichigo didn't have. It's like, it just feels so cheap because you follow the main character's story for so long to get to a certain point, and it's just like, yeah, but we've got to pick up the pace in the second one to make it exciting, so New Kid's just fucking broke. I don't know. So no New Gen. That's my opinions on New Gen stuff. Void Century spinoff. I'm gonna say I prefer a Roger spinoff. I prefer a Roger spinoff just because we know more about Roger. I'm more interested in him than Joy Boy right now. Like, I'm interested in Joy Boy to find out the truth of everything that happened, but a Void Century spinoff sounds like a very heavy and serious thing because that's when shit was going down, world government was taking over, giant war, etc. Roger spinoff is more like a adventure story, but with the world uncharted. Luffy's traveling a very charted world, you know what I mean? He's getting to discover things that have already been discovered by other people, and he's exploring a path that has already been trod. A path that has already been trod a path that has already been trod by Roger and, you know, great pirates before him. But Roger was getting to explore, you know, the Virgin Grand Line. That's pretty cool, you know? Nobody knew anything at that point in time. At least that's kind of the way it was made to sound. I don't know if that's accurate. King G, thanks for the 2. Zoro isn't using Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Green Aura is CTRL over Rio. This is what I was kind of waiting on. I was like, where are all the debates about Haki and who's using what this chapter? Let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. So, for me, this is one of those cases where I think the jury's out. I see it's one of those things where, to me, this Zoro case that we have right here is personally, it's like the poster child almost for the vagueness of Haki right now. Because to me, you know, it's the fucking funniest thing, right? So, with Haki in general, right? Characters drawing their fist, like, is their fist black, not black? Are sparks coming out? Is lightning coming out? Is there contact? No contact? All of this stuff is this already vague-ass shit that is hard to concretely find a consistent thread for, right? Already. You know, like with the Kobe incident, to Ulti, to the Scabbards, to whatever, like Luffy kicking Kizaru, everything. Like, you find so many things, and you're trying to just trace a fucking common thread of like, okay, if we add all this up, then it seems if there's no contact, but if there's some black sparks, but no black sparks, but black lightning, but when they're charging up an attack versus not, you know, you've got all this complexity that Oda's not explaining, right? And then on top of that, Oda's like, oh, and fuck it. Zoro, by the way, no other fucking character does this, but on top of all this, here's the cherry on top. For Zoro, he's just gonna get some random-ass some random-ass fire on his sword once in a while. That's, like, let's just throw that shit into the mix. You just get some random-ass fire on his sword once in a while. It's like, are you fucking insane? Why? What is the fire? Why? Just like, what? Why? Unless you're making it, you're already being so fucking unclear with us understanding Advanced Conqueror's Haki for all these other standard fighters. And then you're like, well, Zoro needs to look extra cool, so he'll just have fire on his swords. And, you know, like a bit of black spark or something. It's like, why even write in this fucking fire? You're already not explaining all this other stuff, and instead of explaining it, you're adding in some more random-ass variables for this one specific character. Nobody else has fucking fire on their swords or their punches or anything like that, so we don't know what the fuck to make of it. You guys get what I'm saying? Like, just, like... And I understand a lot of people are probably typing in chat right now, like, no, Morj, the fire is obviously Advanced Conqueror's Haki, and just as many people are probably typing, like, no, Morj, the fire was, like, a thing already before. when he's mastering Enma or something like that, or the fire is just something separate from advanced. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe it's obvious, maybe I'm just missing something. I am inclined to say that I thought initially that when he's using the fire, like when the fire stuff started around his swords, that meant he had started using Advanced Conqueror's Haki. That's how I felt reading the King chapter. That was kind of how I felt. But I would never come forward and be like very confidently like, yeah, this is definitely what that shit is. Because it's just in its own fucking separate category. Like, it's just there's nothing to fucking compare it to be like, yeah, this is definitely the sign of Advanced Conqueror's Haki, because it's just its own random bullshit, you know? Like, to me, it was more like, yeah, Zoro's definitely using Advanced Conqueror's Haki during the King fight, because that's what the entire fight's fucking about, and, like, Oda goes out of his way to, like, really big black lightning, makes a clear show of, like, no contact, separation from King's swords and everything like that. To me, those were the key indicators of Advanced Conqueror's Haki. I was like, okay, and the fire stuff, that seems to be, I guess, an effect that Oda's also going to use to visualize it. But we don't know for sure, really. We need that established. You know what I mean? Like, we need something a little bit more concrete to establish it. So, I don't even know what to say. Is Zoro using Advanced Conqueror's Haki or not? To me, I'm not even going to have an opinion on it. I'm just going to wait till next chapter, and we find out then. Or maybe we don't. Maybe we don't. Maybe we never find out. Maybe it's never explained. I don't know. But I think I like to believe it'll be elaborated on in some way. You know? Like, next chapter, if Zoro does something where it's like, oh, a huge no contact hit or something, then we could probably all be like, okay, the fire means that, right? For sure. But right now, I'm just like, why don't we all just hold off a little bit and wait, you know, a week or something like that. 2 weeks, I guess. Name. Thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 12 months. One of the OGs right off the bat when the membership started. Thank you very much. Mork, do you think Kizaru is destined to take a definite L to Luffy, or do you think there's a chance the arc will end with them staying even with one another? I definitely think there's a chance that the arc just ends with it ambiguous. I 100% think there's a chance. But I don't think there's any way that this ends with Luffy looking worse, like he couldn't have handled an admiral. You know what I mean? So I think the options are either there's 3 options, I guess, right? Which is like Luffy gets a definitive win, Kizaru defeated, sunglasses broken or some shit. 2 is Luffy comes out looking better, like clearly had the advantage or something. And 3, Oda just leaves it ambiguous. They go their separate ways. It's called a even fight, or just like a open-ended conclusion. But I think there's no chance that Luffy loses here, you know? Or maybe there's a chance Luffy, like, gets taken out for a moment or something, and then he gets back up and gets serious. I think that's, like, maybe like Kaido did to him one time or something. Hans Ding, sorry, thanks for the 2. Shanks versus Blackbeard, gonna go the same as Gojo versus Sukuna. I feel like Blackbeard beating Shanks, because I do think Blackbeard will beat Shanks. Fuck, you just spoiled some... And I just fucking spoiled... Ignore what you just heard. I'm sorry, I just read it straight out loud. I didn't think... Because it was a One Piece thing first, so I didn't think about it. It was Shanks versus Blackbeard gonna go, and then I processed. But don't even worry about that. Keep watching Jujutsu Kaisen. Watch the Shibuya incident. Everyone go watch that series. Let's get the stream likes to 200. No comment. I will say that Blackbeard versus Shanks, I wouldn't be surprised if Blackbeard beats Shanks through some degree of trickery more than anything. I don't know. Behenort, thanks a lot. Right now, I'm kind of saddened how much My Hero Academia fell off in its final battle. At this point, I just want to know what will happen to villains, Toga, and Ochako plotline. It's the only part I genuinely like here. I can't speak on that because I'm not caught up on My Hero. I do know that some stuff happened. Like, I watched in the anime My Hero when, like, the bad guy, what is the bad guy's name? The bad guy with the hand power and you know, the bad guy with the hand power, like the white-haired kid, you know, with the hands and all of that stuff, right? When he started getting all of his superpowers and, like, fucking up all the superheroes and stuff like that, I watched that in the anime. And I remember a lot of people online were saying that was really bad. I thought it was cool. Like, I thought it was a cool storyline. I'm surprised everybody hated it. I thought it was cool. He was going nuts. I think people were complaining because the sky was blue, and I was like, I wonder if that's just because you guys are manga readers, because I didn't think once about the sky being blue being a problem. Duck20, thanks for the 5. Usopp is my favorite character, and I think a death for him is a perfect character arc. I would welcome an Usopp character death, but I don't think it's like a necessary thing for his arc. I just think it would make him as a character. I think it would elevate him so hard as a character, and I really think that it would be the strongest conclusion to his story. But you know, I can understand why people think otherwise. Island Sanji, thanks for the 2. Why did the stream get taken down? Last stream get taken down. Oh, because I was way too I heavily underestimated. Some people are saying Zoro's using Fire Flame, the Kinemon Fox style. Jesus Christ. If we're at a point where the world's strongest swordsman candidate Zoro has to rely on Kinemon's Fire Fox style. Oh my god, it'll be embarrassing if he shows up to fight Mihawk with some Kinemon Firefox style bullshit. I don't know if Mihawk would fight him. I think Mihawk would look at that stuff on his swords and be like, seriously, dude? You need a couple more years of training. I don't know if... Please let this not be Kinemon's Firefox style. Yeah, the last stream got taken down because it was a reaction to various live action animes. And as it turns out, there are limits to how much you can play with YouTube's copyright shit, so it got taken down. Because I basically watched a bunch of clips. We watched a lot of clips of full scenes from various live actions, like Dragon Ball Evolution, Bleach, Death Note, JoJo's, etc. And I made no effort to kind of obscure the screen, so the stream ultimately got taken down after the fact. There were too many copyright things. So, it's a note for the future, I'll just have to be more careful. There's ways to do it, I just have to be a bit more careful. Red Agrid, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for a month. Which character would you like to see make a reappearance in the final arc? Oh, that's a great question. That's tricky, because I feel like everybody that I want to see is already integrated into the final arc. You know, like, because the characters we ultimately want to see in the final arc are, you know, the big guys that Oda's been saving for the final battle. I guess it would be some fun minor character. Like, I would love to see, and even those, we've seen a lot of them show up again just through things like the Reverie, like Dalton, Vivi obviously making a comeback. Like, it'd be fun to see shit like, you know, Johnny and Yasaku or like Zeph or something like that in the final war, but it's also just so unimportant. I think that's one of the cool things about One Piece, that everyone you want to see in the final war, like, who's really missing? I guess you could say NL, but NL's just such a non-factor at this point. I don't even care if NL really shows up for the final war. I think it'd be cool if he came back and got killed and his fruit was given to someone more competent. That would be fun. But beyond that, I don't really care if NL shows up too much. It'd be cool just to see him show up and get humbled or fucked up again. But beyond that, you know. Who else? Yeah, I don't know. I really think, like, someone like Wiper, who is my favorite side character in One Piece, I would not want him to show up, just because I think that Wiper is such a cool, strong-willed character that's such a great counterpart to Luffy that existed in the sky. I would hate to see him in the Blue Sea conflict now, because he'll just be so much weaker than everybody else, because, you know, his conflict resolved. I assume he has no reason to keep training and stuff like that. Like, if he was in the Blue Sea, I've said this before, if Wiper was in the Blue Sea and his goal was Pirate King, like, if you took that same character and just dropped him into the Blue Sea and had him compete here, he would be Luffy's #1 rival for Pirate King. He would have, you know, ridiculous Conqueror's haki, right? But he missed those 2 years. He was just chilling up there with Gonfall, protecting the clouds from nobody, basically. So I would not want to see Wiper brought back down and, I don't know, just seem like really weak by Blue Sea standards. Bingle the Oop, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 12 months, man. All these 12-monthers, thank you. A year-long people, thank you. Yo, with Vegapunk going back for Bonnie, is he just doomed? Sanji might have to defend him against quite a bit, possibly including a Gorosei and Seraphim. I would love to see Sanji get some shine. I'm slowly getting on board with the idea that Vegapunk, the Stella, is not going to make it. I think that might have been one of the key reasons that Oda made so many bodies. I'm on board with the idea that Vegapunk might not make it, and I think a sacrifice could be really good here on Vegapunk's end. Yeah, let's get the likes up to 200 real quick. Cigar Verk, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 12 months, man. Always appreciate seeing you. I have stopped with Hockey Sparks. No bandana, no advanced Conqueror's Haki is much better than spotting Sparks. Zoro, Luffy, casual. Yeah, no bandana. There's no bandana, so we can take that into account. Zoro and Luffy casually. You've just stopped thinking about the Hockey Sparks in general. It's just too much of a headache. That's funny. Zoro and Luffy casually fighting Awakened Zone and Admiral is cool. Yeah. But at the same time, I would like to know if Zoro is... Like, I would just like some level of confirmation if Zoro's using Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Like, I could easily believe that he isn't. I could believe that he is. I think that there is... I think the scenes that would tell us the indicators for him either way are too vague at the moment that, you know, I could lean one way, but at the same time, I think that every argument I've seen, I think that there is an open for interpretation argument the other way, you know? So I need another chapter for that. I also don't think, like, Zoro casually taking Lucci, I agree. It depends what you mean by casually. I don't know. I think we need another chapter. Kenny, thanks for the 2. What's the rule for reactions? Asking for a friend. What's the rule for reactions? Oh, you're saying, like, what gets you not copyright? And I'm going to catch up on supers in a second. Was just getting off the members. In general, for as long as you're, like, obscuring it quite a bit, you should be fine. You know? I think I just took a terrible route with that one where I was very... I took a very laissez-faire attitude where I just put the whole thing on the screen and put myself in the corner. Really, you need to shrink it, because I think lots of times when I'm reacting to stuff, I will shrink it down, put it in the corner, flip it, reverse it, lower the opacity and stuff like that. But that's usually for stuff you guys have already seen, like an episode or something like that. This is stuff that most of you guys hadn't seen, so I wanted you guys to be able to watch it, which in turn meant that the stream ultimately got taken down. Christian Barraza, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 4 months. Frankie and Sanji are apparently going to take on the Marines with Atlas to retrieve Bonnie. I can see them rescuing Sentomaru too. They're going to take on the Marines with Atlas. I hope that Sanji gets something impressive. Like, Frankie taking on Vice Admiral is cool. But I hope that Sanji gets something... you know, that makes... I don't like seeing the constant, like, shitting on Sanji by, like, I prefer it when it's a healthy back and forth, you know? I don't like seeing Zoro fans just shitting on Sanji and just making fun of him chapter after chapter if he's not getting anything. I prefer a healthy back and forth, you know? I think some of the best times were when Sanji came in, took that Seraphin Jinbei punch to the face, and then, you know, he finally had some ammo after years and years and years. And I kind of just prefer that. I prefer when Sanji fans, it's not just a one-sided rivalry, you know? Like, I'm talking outside the story here, by the way. I prefer when it's not a one-sided rivalry between Zoro fans and Sanji fans. I like both sides to be able to have something to hang their hat on. You know? Because Zoro fans are always going to want to just shit on Sanji, and Sanji fans are always going to want to try and, you know, bring up some stuff to push that they're comparable, you know? And I think that's the way it should go, right? But it's not fun when you just see Zoro fans shitting on Sanji exclusively, and Sanji fans just have to sit there and, I don't know, take it. One sec. Yeah, I know I got some supers to catch. Give me a second. Let me just finish these memberships out real quick. I think I caught up. Yeah, I think I'm caught up. Alright, so we covered this. Island Sanji, why did the last stream get taken down, lol? I think I explained that. GDN, thanks for the 5. Do you like the tone of Luffy versus Kizaru? It feels like a battle of who controlled the hardest. I'm perfectly fine with the tone here, because Egghead Island is to me, this is not a very, very like the tone has been consistent, and the stakes of the arc are it's not like, you know, this huge epic battle like Wano that is the conclusion to pretty much all like what all the arcs of the New World have been leading up to, you know. Yeah, like this is essentially a warm-up arc. This is basically an in-between arc between like Wano and a much more important arc like Elbaf and stuff like I still think Egghead's very important, right? The Egghead incident. But ultimately it's a much smaller scale, tighter arc. We just got off the back of a huge war. This is warm-up mode, right? You don't need the stakes to be super high every arc. It's the same, like, I'm not like Davy Backfight needed some really high stakes or something like that. Drum King didn't need some really high stakes. Usually, you know, the flow of a story is better when, you know, Strauss came off that crazy heavy storyline in Water 7 and East Lobby, and then the next arc, Thriller Bark, was for the most part, it had a much lighter tone throughout it. It got serious towards the end with Kuma and everything like that, but in general, it was nowhere near the level of, you know, emotion and everything that was before it, right? I think Punk Hazard, right? That was getting the New World going. That was also not as serious of an arc in general. Like, I think, yeah, I think Kizaru is the perfect opponent for Gear 5th Luffy right now, because Kizaru is a very versatile character himself. So getting to see Gear 5th Luffy, like with Gear 5th, I'm always looking out for what's the new abilities that he's breaking out. Because, you know, the eyes popping out of the sock, that's not a move, but, you know, some stuff, sometimes the shtick will get old after a little bit, right? Like, Luffy grabbed Kizaru as a giant, and I thought that was cool. But at the same time, for me with Gear 5th, it's always just like, okay, show me something new, because this is a really creative ability. So, I'm always just looking forward to new uses of Gear 5th, and so far I think the fight is really cool for that. Like, I loved what we got at the conclusion of this with, like, Luffy just, like, eating light and then just having that, like, explosion of light go off. Like, we've seen that in Looney Tunes before, right? Like, character eats some sort of a explosion type thing, and then it just goes off inside them. I think Kizaru is a great character to showcase more Gear 5th with, you know? Kark, thanks a lot for the 5. Thoughts on recent One Piece episode? Thoughts on recent One Piece episode? Oh, I didn't watch it, but I do want to watch it at some point. I'm not, like, actively choosing not to watch it. I just haven't gotten around to watch it. I do want to watch the conclusion to Luffy versus Kaido at some point. I'll check it out. Drip, I think I've seen, like, the final panel, or, like, not panel, final image, I guess, of, like, Luffy floating with, like twinkling lights coming down around him. That looks cool. Drip Jumbe 69, thanks for the 5. Fraud trio. Sanji ran away with Vegapunk. Luffy has Zoro if he needed help with Lucci, and Kizaru's trolling Luffy while he struggles to protect Vegapunk. Okay, I guess they are the fraud trio. I think it's better if they're all the fraud trio rather than just Sanji being called the fraud, you know? Grizzly Adams, thanks for the 5. Morj, does Zoro clearly use advanced Conqueror's Haki, but Luffy not doing so make you feel vindicated or more pissed off for both? I'm curious. Let's do a quick poll. Is Zoro clearly using advanced Conqueror's Haki? Because I don't fucking know. Like, I genuinely don't know. I think you need to give me a chapter to understand what's happening, I suppose. Because this goes to the broader issue, which is, like, if issue number 1 is, like, why don't characters just use advanced Conqueror's Haki, right? The broader issue is Haki in general, right? So if we can't even conclusively say, is Zoro using advanced Conqueror's Haki, I think that's a bigger issue. Is Zoro using advanced Conqueror's Haki? Yes. No. I don't know. I can't think of another series in general where the most exclusive, most powerful game-breaking ability is literally you don't know when someone's using it. I'm gonna screenshot this. All right. Yeah, so the So overwhelming, most people say they don't know, and then the rest are split between yes and no. So it's not even, that is the most, this is like, it cannot get more ambiguous than this. Either you're just upfront, like, an equal number of people are saying yes, an equal number of people are saying no, and even more people than either of those categories are saying they don't know. That is a problem. That is not good. Regardless of how you feel in the chat right now, if you feel like it's yes or if you feel like it's no, right? Just looking at those numbers, is there any way that it can't be more ambiguous than this, right? 50% yes, 50% no. Sorry. Equal amounts of yes and no, and most people saying they don't fucking know. That's not good. So I don't know. It's so frustrating because Haki is such a cool ability. It's such a cool ability, and Conqueror's Haki in particular is a really cool ability, and using Conqueror's Haki to fight, like Advanced Conqueror's Haki, is fucking awesome. It's just, why is it the way it is, where we can't tell? Just lol, thanks for the 5. The world government created massive inequality which led to piracy. Source for that sounds like a Marxist interpretation of the story. Which led to piracy. Is that something specifically that I've said? I've definitely said that. I think I've probably said things along those lines. I don't know if that's a Marxist interpretation necessarily, but that's what you see from chapter 900 and... Is it 909? The chapter where Marco is explaining basically to... Marco's talking to Nekomamushi on Whitebeard's Island, basically. He kind of breaks down that the world government doesn't... like, if you can't pay the taxes, then the world government doesn't protect you. If the world government doesn't protect you, then islands fall into poverty. That's how pirates like Whitebeard rise up, right? Blackbeard came from a similar sort of town. So, I don't know if it's a, I'm not trying to put any sort of political interpretation necessarily, but that is what is essentially implied in the story, that pirates are, like, a lot of these pirates, right? Like, Blackbeard or Whitebeard, good pirates, bad pirates, etc., they essentially come from towns, islands, etc., that were unable to pay celestial tribute, therefore were left to rot by the world government, fell into poverty, inequality, etc. And then the backlash of all that is that pirates rise up because, that's just kind of, crime kind of comes as a result from, low wealth, etc. Fodder for Ire, thanks for the 10. Hey, Majin Morj, was wondering what you think of the idea of Sentomaru actually inheriting the Pawpaw Fruit. I don't know if I like the idea of Sentomaru inheriting it necessarily. I would like it to go to someone maybe a little bit more... Like, Sentomaru is cool. I'm going to like Sentomaru. But maybe someone a little bit more important to the story. I think I might just be biased because I like the idea of Vivi getting it, if I'm being perfectly honest. But, Sentomaru getting it. I really hadn't thought about that. It's interesting because Sentomaru already fights using his palms. That's a cool idea. I like that idea. Now that I think about it a little bit. Took me a moment to consider it. 02 Eto, thanks for the 2. No one will die. This is One Piece plot armor goat. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think we're approaching a point. We are slowly approaching a point. I think it might be too soon to say this, but we're slowly approaching a point where death could be a very real and consistent reality in One Piece. I think we're nearly there. I think Oda has a lot of years of a lot of years of setting up a certain reputation to undo, but I think just a couple more character deaths here or there, I think that we could be looking at some very different stakes for the final saga. I think he's close to making me a believer that anyone can die. A Straw Hat, again, is obviously like another level of death, right? That's especially sacred. But, we could get in the right direction. Maybe if the Stella body died or something. I mean, I'm not personally pushing for the Stella body to die. I don't think the Stella has to die. But a lot of people are saying that it's a possibility. I'd be definitely down for that. I think that would help. Bahanort says when it comes to the Void Century, you know what I hate the most? It's all those what if Ancient Kingdom was evil and first 20 were good guys theories. I don't really, I just don't know where that's based off of, because I think that's more just like people thinking it's a cool idea, but that's not following what we really learned throughout the route that Oda really likes to do in the story is a bit more cut and dry, which is, Dressrosa, the good family before, was a good family, right? Like, Riku was a good family. He was dethroned, and his name was, like, defiled, etc., by some false pretenders to the throne, Doflamingo family, etc., but the original family was good. Wano, same thing. The Kazukis, we're supposed to understand that they're good. We want them back in power because the new guys are bad, right? Alabasta, same thing was going to happen, right? The Nefertari family is good, but some lying, deceptive forces, right, are going to take over, Crocodile, etc., and once they take over, then they'll just pretend the previous family was bad. I think in general, Oda does have a more cut and dry sort of there's a good regime that gets overthrown by a bad regime that lies and covers up history, etc., to make the previous regime look bad. Now, you might say, well, that's too simplistic. But it's different once you're saying that each regime is bad, right? And then each regime is bad, and then no regime is better than the next regime or whatever. You're going for a different message. The message that Oda is more interested in, I think, establishing throughout the story is that who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? Who are the villains? Who are the villains? Who are the actual victims, etc. That can often be manipulated. That can often be, history told by the winners. That's what he really likes to do. And in that regard, I think he finds the message more powerful if it's a constant sort of flipping of the expectations of okay, you thought or people think that the old regime was really bad and the new regime is really good, but in reality it was the opposite. So I think he likes having a true good guys, true victims sort of thing, and then true bad guys, true villains sort of thing, right? Because I think with that, he's able to illustrate the idea more that it's easy for bad people or bad forces, etc., once they gain power, to be able to rewrite history and paint themselves as the heroes when they are in actuality the villains. And that message only really works if they are actually the villains and the people that they dethroned were the heroes. I think that's why that's more of a consistent trend throughout One Piece. So I agree with you, Behnort. Francisco Mas, thanks for... But again, we never know. Maybe the Ancient Kingdom's an exception. But I don't think that's the way it's shaping up to be, just because the D-Tribe seems to be the actually good group that we should be rooting for. Francisco Mas, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 11 months, man. We really need a Jujutsu Kaisen-like explanation for Haki. Yeah, in this case, I would say let's get a Jujutsu Kaisen-style explanation. I'm also going to do Jujutsu Kaisen talk in 10-15 minutes, so I guess get your One Piece questions out. Oda should set some ground rules for it to make sense. Also think Kizaru may betray the world government and Saturn kills him. I would love for Kizaru to... Oh, that would be sick. That would also really establish... It would be a great way for Kizaru's character to close out, and be a really good way to establish the strength of the Gorosei, if that's what Oda's going for. I mean, the thing is, we have ground rules established for Haki. The tricky thing is, it's not even that we don't have rules established for Haki. We have the rules. We just can't understand when it's happening. The indicators are what's more vague, right? Yes, we have some indicators, but they're very inconsistent is the thing. And then there's other random indicators, like lightning or sparks and stuff, that are never fucking commented on ever throughout the story. So it's just this it's just this thing that started being drawn into the story randomly at arbitrary moments and stuff, and then readers are just making their own conclusions because it's never addressed. It's kind of crazy. It's does anybody are the characters seeing the sparks and stuff like that? Or do they comment? Is anybody ever mentioning anything about lightning? Sleeping Danger says, I hope Sanji isn't used isn't used to make Saturn look good. This is the state of Sanji fans. It's the state of Sanji fan. That's the problem. It's too sad because it's like it's not even any longer like, man, I hope Sanji gets to fight Lucci or Kizaru or something. It's like, man, I just hope that he's not used as a punching bag for somebody else. Like they're not even hoping for W's anymore, right? They're not even hoping for W's or good showings. They're just praying that no more bad showings, right? Like no more L's. Like don't, like please just don't, like just let him walk through the rest of the arc without doing a thing. Just please don't use him to scale some other character again. Like don't just use him as a punching bag again. Like we would rather like just put him in the corner if you need to, Oda, and just let him just exist quietly for the rest of the arc. Please don't drag him out of the corner just to have Saturn beat him up. That's the point that we've come to with Sanji fans. It is sad. Just like 5-6 chapters, like what, 10 chapters ago, he was tanking that punch from Jinbei. Good times. Sorry from Jinbei. Good times, good times. Sleeping Danger, thanks. Strongest character Luffy can knock out with Conqueror's Haki. That's too hard, because it's not even about strength, right? Like, I feel like Luffy, he knocked out Mr. 3 pre-time skip when he was still bad at Haki. But he couldn't knock out, I don't think he could knock out Vivi. And Mr. 3 is obviously stronger than Vivi. And, like, he knocked out Mr. 3, but I still feel like Mr. 3 is stronger than, like, a random fishman at Fishman Island. But Luffy knocked out only half of the fishmen at Fishman Island. I guess maybe range, that's the bigger reason. I don't know. It's hard to say. It would have to be, like, but it's also partly strength, right? It's not just willpower, because I don't think Luffy could knock out, like, Caesar Clown. Otherwise, he would have, you know? And Caesar Clown's, like, a cowardly Weasley character. You guys think Caesar knows Haki? Probably not, right? Need more faith in Wanji? I have faith in Sanji. I just don't have faith that Oda doesn't get his kicks from making Sanji look bad once in a while. I don't think Oda gets his kicks from. I think it's just like out of the tree. Like you have 3 characters that on the crew that you can really use to hype up other characters. That's Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji. Out of the 3, Luffy is Luffy. Zoro, Oda really doesn't like to make look bad, so someone has to get the short end of the stick, and it usually ends up being Sanji. And that's just I don't think Oda obviously loves Sanji as a character. I'm sure he likes all the Straw Hats, but it's just I think when Oda's got to pick one to not look so good, ultimately Sanji's maybe his least favorite of the 3. Nick on the radio, thanks a lot. Blackbeard has a mythical zone. Yami is not a Logia. I would believe that Yami is a Logia, but then what Logia fruit would he get? Like, or maybe we're making the wrong assumption that he gets a Logia fruit. No, he says Yami's a Logia, right? Unless I'm crazy. He says that. Alan Espinosa, thanks a lot. Luffy protecting everyone as he wished on Sabaody. That is a good point. Yeah, you know what? It just doesn't really feel like that because like he's doing it so casually and easily that it doesn't feel that dire. But he is protecting everyone. That is a good point. Nerve and V-Maker, thanks for the 5. I've thought for a while you could have a 4-way Yonko battle. In this headcanon, Blackbeard would kill Shanks, but after Shanks had been fighting Mihawk. I still think that it's tricky because Blackbeard still needs to feel, you know, strong and intimidating because he's Luffy's opponent, you know? So it can't just be through cheating. I think at the end of the day, Blackbeard needs some good wins, but I also think it's possible that he cheats to some degree against Shanks. I don't know. It's hard to say. Nerve and V-Maker says, Wiper was so hyped that he outshined Zoro in their joint fight. Yeah, that's fucking crazy. And it's not even just that he outshined Zoro in the fight. It was that he showed, like, one of Zoro's biggest things that he's, like, he can, like, he tanks so much damage and so much pain, etc. And, like, he's all, like, that's just been his MO from the beginning, right? Like, from the beginning, like, the Kabaji fight through Arlong Park, through the Mr. 1 fight. That's Zoro's shtick, right? Like, he can really take so much pain and endurance, etc., and stay standing and keep going. Wiper outshone him in that category, which pretty much no one does. Like, that's probably, Luffy's the only guy that really does something like that, you know? That's what really, like, and it was a clear distinction, which is, yeah, Wiper is even more that guy than Zoro. That's why they had to keep Wiper up there in the white seat. They had to keep him up there. He would just fuck up the story too much if he was downstairs. Just ruins everything. Law and Kid didn't even get that level of portrayal during Roof Piece. Law and Kid could stack their willpower together. It wouldn't even scratch a tiny crumb of what Wiper has in his pinky finger. They're such a joke compared to the badass that was Wiper. Law doesn't even fucking have Conqueror's Haki. Don't even put... Let's not... And Kid has Conqueror's Haki, but no one's ever fucking seen it. So he might have just been lying about that. I know that Kaido says that, oh, Kid has Conqueror's Haki, but it's like, did anyone ever check? Maybe that's just a rumor. Maybe Kid told him I have Conqueror's Haki and Kaido just believed him. That'd be funny. GDN says, I've been seeing this argument. Saturn is the god of scientific defense. Sanji's the warrior of science. Sanji is going to be a hype tool for Saturn. Maybe Sanji does good against Saturn. The problem is that we all know that the Gorosei need a hype tool, right? Because the Gorosei haven't done anything so far. So the Gorosei ultimately need to be pitted against someone to kind of give us an idea of how strong they are. So I feel like it's possible that whoever Saturn goes up against first is going to be a hype tool. And it is unfortunately possible that that person is Sanji. But maybe Oda does a thing where, like, Sanji looks good and the Gorosei looks good. I don't know. Flame, thanks for the 5. Zoro fans believe in Zoro killing Kaido. They're the ones that need to build their stocks back up, not Sanji fans, lol. That's different, because that's just, like, being wrong about what was gonna happen with Zoro, I think. But, like, Zoro still got so many good moments that... You know, they didn't get the big one that they wanted, but it's like relative to Sanji is ultimately what they care about. So Zoro has gotten way more good moments and like power-ups and stuff lately overall than Sanji, you know? So I don't know if they need... Yeah, I see what you're saying, but at least from what I've been witnessing, I feel like I see Sanji fans get bullied a lot more in general. But I might be wrong. Manifest Joe, thanks for the 5. Last episode was good, to be honest. But to be honest, I'm more excited for Momo's speech. That's exactly the kind of scene that the anime is good at, elevating with voiceover and music. I haven't seen the last episode, so I don't have an opinion on it. But yeah, I think that they could do Momo's scene like very artistically for sure. So that'll probably look cool. Flame says, I think Zoro used Advanced Conqueror's Haki because Oda has never drawn fire on Zoro's swords prior to confirming Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Has he? I think he's only done that, like, when he specifically used it as a move, like, against Ryuma. I would have to go back and, like, people were posting panels of, like, when Enma was initially sucking out Zoro's Haki and stuff like that. People were like, these are flames. Look, I think it's entirely possible Zoro is using Advanced Conqueror's Haki. I think it's entirely possible he's not. I'm literally not going to give any sort of opinion either way, because my opinion right now is just, this is dumb. Like, why make Haki, and particularly the most fucking important type of Haki, Advanced Conqueror's Haki, why make it so vague? And then on top of that, when you're already making it so vague, why then, for this one specific character, add in this other element that you don't explain at all, which makes it even more confusing, which is like, yeah, and this guy just has fire for some reason. Is it Advanced Conqueror's Haki? You very well could draw that correlation. You could very well say that this is like a clear tie to Advanced Conqueror's Haki. But at the same time, I've done so little to explain Advanced Conqueror's Haki that you have no fucking way of knowing, because he's the only person that does this. Nobody else fucking does this. So it's just some random bullshit on top of other stuff that we're already trying to decipher. So I'm just leaving that argument alone. I think it's entirely possible. I think let's just wait a chapter and we'll probably understand better based on what Zoro's actually doing next chapter, whether it's Advanced Conqueror's Haki or not. But I do think it's entirely possible that it is. The Final Storm, thanks for the 5. Do you think the robot of the past will succeed, where the present Kuma, Frankie, Shogun, and future Vega Force 01 could fail and help the crew escape? I think that that's very likely, personally. I would love to see it rather be like some Frankie stuff, but once we understand the robot of the past, the robot of dreams, or whatever that seems to be set up to be, there might just be some greater symbolism to it being the thing to do it. Lose Vasquez, thanks for the 2. I'm just here to get my W. Sanji was Devon. Here's the thing. Sanji being Devon would save him from a lot of slander, but at the same time be like, dude, you got captured by Devon. Although, of course he would get captured by Devon. Devon's a woman. He wouldn't be able to fight back. But that would also be stupid. I mean, not stupid, but it would just be... Would Sanji really lose to Devon if he ran into Devon and he couldn't fight back? I don't know. How'd he even run into Devon? There are other characters around. Mark Zach Noun, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 12 months. Happy to be a year-long member. Been a fan for many years now and love the content. Thank you for being a year-long supporter, man. How do you think Saturn will make his appearance? I think that Oda's waiting up for like a pivotal moment. I think there could be a moment where the Strats think that they've succeeded or won or something like that, or like they've, you know, things are going well, and I think Saturn will crash the party then. I think that's one of the more effective ways to use him for drama here. Oh, let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick. Kino the Far, thanks for the 5. Hi, Mork. I finally got a new car. Hey, congratulations, man. 2020 Corolla. Nice. Last night somebody vandalized it and smashed the brake lights. Okay. Sorry. Does Kuma smack his ass to teleport? I don't think so, but now I have that image in my mind that that's how he does it. Ramen Stains, thanks for the 2. Imagine if Sentomaru joins the crew. If Sentomaru joined the crew after everyone? No, that's too funny. I don't believe it, but fucking Sentomaru. What would he add to the crew? Nothing. But that would be funny. What a way their relationship developed. King G, thanks for the 10. Zoro had purple flames when Enma was drawing out his haki. It turns, so now we gotta go by color? It turns green and coats all swords when he controls it. No, this is just some anime stuff. The anime doesn't know what it's talking about. The anime doesn't even know who the 1% man is. The anime is stupid in terms of like knowing things. All right, let's not get into anime criticism again. But the anime, I don't think knows things like, you know, what's gonna happen, or like, I think most everything it does is for, you know, just it's assuming. I think it's making a lot of assumptions, you know. With Advanced Conqueror's Haki added, there's a clear, thick, and long lightning coming off each sword. Look, man, I know what you're saying. I remember during the King fight, there was a lot of clear, long lightning, etc. It's entirely possible that Oda just doesn't bother drawing that sometimes. We need to wait and see. Let's give it another chapter. I would agree with that interpretation as well. I also agree with the possibility that just in general having flames on and some black sparks, like we saw this chapter, means Advanced Conqueror's Haki. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out, like, just in general, you know, like, we don't even know if Kobe was using Advanced Conqueror's Haki, right? I still don't think so. But, like, at least Kobe was fighting normally, like, with fists and stuff. With Zoro doing all this flames bullshit, I'm just like, what's the point? He doesn't even set anyone on fire. Why even do it? Why do it just to complicate things further? Or if you do it, then just explain it. Just have it clear. If you want to have the cool, badass King of Hell flame stuff, then just explain why it's there. Hans Ding, thanks for the 2. Oda is against colonization / foreign intervention. You're digging into some deep stuff here. I think that Oda is of the opinion, if I had to guess, that everyone should just live in harmony. That's basically his general basic-ass views on stuff. You know? Like, oh, the Shandians and the Skypians lost their island. Okay, everyone can share the Verth together. That sort of thing. Oh, the dwarves and the Dressrosans, okay, they, whatever, just share the island together. That's his deal. I don't think Oda's too in-depth into... Like, I don't think Oda has deep views on foreign policy or stuff like that necessarily. I think he has more... Oda speaks more from the heart, I think, in his opinions. Which is like, this feels right, or this is the right... This emotionally feels, like, correct, you know? Broader, more from the heart sort of concepts of what an ideal world should be. It's never going to be, I don't think, super technical. Bunfagum asking, Morj, did you see that Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 236? I'm gonna say in a little bit. Okay, let me get through the rest of these supers, then I'll talk Jujutsu Kaisen, alright? So, Jujutsu Kaisen people who've been patiently waiting, we will talk about that shortly. Let me just get through these a little. I'll move a little faster. Great piece, thanks. Bonnie's a child confirmed by Vegapunk. Sanji Oda. Dude, if... I'm, like... Okay, is Bonnie a child? Let's ask that. I should have put a maybe option. Because right now, if you asked me, just looking at the clues, I would say it is a solid chance that she is actually a kid. But I am biased towards saying no, she's not a kid, just because it makes a lot of how Oda has been drawing her, and just generally the situations he's been putting her in, it makes a lot of it weird. Like, real weird. Like the weird side of Japan weird, you know what I mean? All right, so we got another 50-50 split. Fantastic. All right. And I wonder how many of you are voting no because you, like me, just don't want it to be true because it just makes things weird. Let's just not think about that for now. And if Oda drops that bombshell or whatever, then we all just judge him for it later. RCP245, thanks for the 5. Do you think the crew is complete at this point? I used to think no. I used to think that we had more members coming. But now I'm starting to feel like this might be it. Like, the final squad might have been assembled in Wano, because it's really hard to bond more characters in the short amount of time that we have left. If Bonnie's a kid, like, Bonnie was one of my candidates for being a crew member. If Bonnie is a kid, I highly doubt that she would be a crew member. Yeah, I think it's hard. Like, I don't know if we get another crew member. I think it's unlikely at this point. I imagine there'd be a large marketing push once it's complete. Oh, for the final crew? Yeah, probably. Francisco Mas, thanks a lot. Saturn killing Kizaru when he refuses to kill Vegapunk would be great for both characters. I do think so. I think Kizaru goes down as a complex, sympathetic villain, and also the Gorosei gets set up as really strong and ruthless. I do think that all of that would be really cool. It would just be pretty wild because it'd be like, how does that affect the Marines in general? Like, does Saturn just tell Akainu that, yeah, I killed Kizaru, or does he lie and say Kizaru was killed by Straw Hat Luffy in battle or something like that? It's also just like, is Oda gonna kill fucking Kizaru? I don't know. But I just think the potential for Kizaru is so great here. The potential for Kizaru is phenomenal here. And it's just a two birds, one stone thing, which is like Kizaru becoming a more sympathetic character, right? That's kind of happening. And then at the same time, you want to set up Saturn as like endgame villain and set up the Celestial Dragon. The Gorosei is really the true danger of the world government, etc. You could do both at the same time. I don't know. At the same time, I was also looking forward to seeing us fight Kizaru in the final war, but maybe it's just Oda had bigger things in mind. Senpai Bruce, thanks for the 5. Jinbei could be Saturn example, and Sanji coming for the save. I feel like Oda's not gonna make. I just got a feeling that Oda's not gonna make Jinbei look bad. I think, you know what? Now that I think about it, I don't think Jinbei's ever been made to look bad in One Piece. Like, there's been moments where it's clear, like, okay, he can't do something, right? Like, but you know, like, I don't think Jinbei's ever been just used to hype up somebody. So maybe it's about time, but at the same time, maybe Oda feels like Jinbei's new to the crew. Like, give him, like don't just start using him to hype things up. I don't know. It just feels less likely to me that Oda uses. I would rather Oda use Jinbei, but Sanji's just had this long pattern of being used in that manner that I find it more likely it'll be Sanji. But I would be pleasantly surprised if Oda uses Jinbei instead. Top 50 list. Maybe at the end of the year. We did a top 30 a little while ago, like several before. Several streams before, maybe a couple months before. Also, this is my first dono ever. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It was going to be you or King of Lightning who got it, or Dr. BOA. I don't know who that is. All right, I'll take it over King. That's funny. Hey, if you ever end up donating to King, just please add in your message to him that, hey, I was between you and Morj, but I went with Morj, so you're my second donation ever. Just let him know. Yeah. I feel like Jinbei's this respectable old man, you know, so Oda doesn't want to humiliate him too much. Isas1155 says, Morj, read my super. Let me see if I missed it. Sorry, man. And after that, we're going to talk about... oh, I did miss it. Oh, no, I missed a few. Hold on, I missed a few. Fuck. Okay, let me catch these, then we're talking Jujutsu Kaisen. Just a few more to go. Isas1155 says, Morj, what do you think of Luffy's dream? Trying every kind of meat, which is why he needs to be free, and he needs Sanji's dream too. A lot of parallels. Yeah, but it's implied to be the same as I think that's a little too shallow to be Luffy's dream. Like, you get what it's getting across. But Roger's dream was implied to be the same as Luffy's, and I don't think Roger was written to love, eating meat the same way Luffy was. Maybe they share the same trait. Or maybe Roger had something similar, but different. Senpai Bruce, I see your other donation, thank you. JWP says, Awuga, appreciate it. Behenort, thanks. I would love if Joy Boy was a Moses figure. Privileged dude turned into literal white savior or like a real-life revolutionary. It would be cooler if these were just revolutionaries and not a country. But the thing is that we've got so much suggesting that there's connections to the moon and the D tribe were actually a tribe. But at the same time, the D's are like a varied group, right? You got giants and stuff like that. So the chances of them all being one tribe, yeah, it seems less likely, actually. As for your thoughts on Joy Boy, I don't know. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that before. I think Joy Boy is just a really cool, mysterious figure at this point that we can't make tremendous conclusions about. I've seen a lot of people saying, like, oh, he's like Luffy, he had a crew and he sailed around and stuff. I don't even know if that's true. Luis Vasquez says, look at the panel when Sanji turned into Frankie. I gotta look at it again. JWP says he doesn't even set anyone on fire, LMAO. Yeah, does Zoro do the Hellfire things? Can someone in chat answer? Does the Hellfire stuff turn people on fire? Like, turn people on fire. Does it set people on fire? Also, let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick. Do the Hellfire flames set people on fire? The thing is that, like, I kind of liked fire being Sanji's. Well, like, Luffy also used fire, but not too much. I didn't need Zoro to have fire necessarily, although he always wanted a fire sword. So it's something. Sanji turned into Frankie. Let's see. But I mean, the aesthetic is still cool. Still cool to see. In Vegapunk. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, I think Frankie just grabbed on too. He just grabbed on too. That's funny. Keenan says, think you might have missed my super, if not my bad. I caught your super earlier, I think, but let me double check. Oh, no. No, I didn't. Fuck. Sorry. I'm sorry, man. Off topic, but I just started a reread of One Piece, and no joke, Baratie is like a top 5 arc in One Piece. Glad Sanji stopped saying crap bum, though. I think that might have been... Maybe you're reading the Viz translations? I feel like Sanji might have said that more in the Viz, but I might be mistaken. And, dude, Baratie is a really, really good arc. Honestly, like, so many early One Piece arcs are... Rereading One Piece just makes you rereading One Piece is... You appreciate so much more about previous arcs rereading them. So... I understand you're saying Baratie is top 5 right now, but I'm interested once you get a little further, like once you're 200 chapters in, if then you're saying like, new top 5, Drum Kingdom, Alabasta, etc. So I don't know. Zoro can cut fire already. It is fire or aura or something. Yeah. All right, guys. I think I'm caught up on supers. We're going to talk about the Jujutsu Kaisen chapter to round out the stream, because we got to talk about that. It basically, that chapter broke the internet, I would say, because again, I don't think I've ever had a One Piece stream where I opened it up and pretty much all the initial conversation was just about a totally different manga and like what just happened in that manga. I don't think that's ever happened before. Can anyone recall something as significant happening in the shonen manga verse as this? I don't think so. Chino Wong says Morj is pre-time skip bias again. I would say the same thing for other arcs. I think like you could reread Whole Cake and feel the same way. I even like when I reread Fishman Island, I appreciated Fishman Island. I initially, when I first read Fishman Island, I felt it was the worst One Piece arc. But I was reading it weekly, and I was also very young. Not very young, but I was in high school. And I was reading it weekly, and you're not like 50 chapters, right? So 50 chapters weekly, more than 50 chapters weekly. Like coming off of the time skip where you want the Strats to all fight and everything, like you want them to go into the New World and like fight strong characters, and they're stuck at Fishman Island, which is just whatever. So I really disliked it the first time around. But even rereading Fishman Island, I liked it a lot better. Henchme976 is JJK's lame. Let's talk NBA. Wait for the season to start, man. All right, we're gonna talk about Jujutsu Kaisen. So you've been warned. I'll just pin a comment too. What's the chapter number? 236. What is it? 236 or something? What's the chapter number? 236. All right. Oh, I guess I'll just change it. Nah, I'm not gonna change the stream title and everything because we're not gonna talk that long about it. Bonfagum, thanks for the 2. Jujutsu Kaisen 236 is on par with Gear 5th's reveal. Hype. Well, Gear 5th's reveal was much less controversial. I know Gear 5th's reveal had some people who didn't love it, but I think everyone was really excited by it. Whereas with this one, it is very, 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 very polarizing. Here's what I will say. I think that Gojo has one of the worst fandoms. I like Gojo as a character. I found myself slowly rooting against him in the Sukuna fight because of his fucking fans. And I know you shouldn't take in the fans into account when you're, like, reading, like, just who do you prefer or whatever. But it's fucking hard when the feed is constantly filled with, like people, you know, just, like, everybody's shit, like, everybody's just, like, gassing up Gojo. And people have sucked this character off for so long. Like, you've got people making threads about, like, who would win, Gojo or Goku. And it's just like, these Jujutsu Kaisen fans are fucking insane. Like, the character annoyed me because the fans were so annoying. But in isolation, I thought Gojo was really cool. Gojo was the coolest part of Jujutsu Kaisen for me when I was reading, and I imagine that's the same case for a lot of people. The tricky thing is, right? Let me start with this. I think a lot of the reasons for the fight ending the way, like, Sukuna winning the fight, etc., that is, in my mind, that's way better for the narrative. Good stuff, right? The one thing, I was rooting for Sukuna. I still don't personally like the way the fight ended because, number one, the biggest thing to me, I don't think off-screening the finishing blow is good for any fight. For a fight that lasts that long, right? For a fight that lasts that long, that's anticipated for so long, to off-screen the final blow, it's just really not satisfying because you want to see that moment, right? You want to see this attack that can cut supposedly everything, right? You want to see that. That's epic. That's climactic. I understand that Geiji tried to do a more subverting expectations, right? Like, he came up with, like, a really shocking, flipping audiences' expectations on their head route, like a really distinct way to do it, which will be remembered, which is just cut to the character who lost in heaven, or the afterlife, essentially, right? And then reveal how they lost. That's a cool concept in theory, but in practice, in actuality, it'll be memorable, but it's also just not a fun or satisfying way. Like, even if you're a Sukuna fan, it's not a fun or satisfying way to read the end of the fight. Because, to me, right? Because for me personally, when I like to be able to just go back, like, for any manga fight, and just be able to just leaf through it and just enjoy it for the action. You know what I mean? Like, just maybe not read all of the dialogue. Like, when I'm rereading, like, maybe just go through the fight and just enjoy it from start to finish and just visually watch a lot of the action, maybe reading some of the dialogue, etc., basically, right? Like that. And just see the whole fight play out and the big finale and everything like that, and just enjoy the action for the action. You can't do that with this. There's no finale to the fight. He wrote a fight with no finale, with no climactic moment. He skipped the climactic moment, or she, I don't know what it is, but Geiji skipped the climactic moment for shock value, which I don't think is a good thing, personally. I hope that doesn't become a trend. But yeah, it's just a fight that I'm never going to enjoy sitting down to reread because I know it's just leading to, it's going to lead to a moment that skips the climax. That's the biggest problem I had with it personally, which is not Not who won the fight, not the reason the Sukuna won. Purely the fact that I didn't get to see it happen. I didn't get to see the fight, like the fight finish, which to me matters quite a bit. Like, we're fucking reading a shonen, you know what I mean? Like, we're reading a shonen, you don't need to overcomplicate it that much necessarily. There's certain things that we want to see when we're reading these action series, you know? So to me, that matters quite a bit. The off-screen aspect of it, I don't like, right? And I'm somebody who wanted Sukuna to win, who felt like it was way better for the story for Sukuna to win. The other thing that I think that I don't care as much about, but I can understand why people are upset, is that Gojo specifically says that Sukuna didn't go all out, and that Sukuna could have won even without Sukuna very possibly could have won even without using Mahoraga, right? I think that's the thing that really rubs Gojo fans the wrong way, because it's like the author is practically aware of the debates that are going on and pretty much shut it down. There's no ambiguity left. So, like, before this, it was so fucking annoying how Gojo fans were basically saying, like there was a point once Mahoraga was pulled out, Gojo fans were just saying, like, okay, the debate is settled, Gojo is stronger, it doesn't matter what Sukuna does from here on out, but Gojo is officially stronger, right? Sukuna might win and Gojo might lose, but that doesn't matter because it's already definitive. Gojo is stronger, it's a Mickey Mouse win, etc. And I just thought that was really annoying, because you guys remember, I've talked about it in the stream before, I'm like, you can't say that before the fight is actually over. You can't just declare the character's officially stronger. Because, like, Geiji basically, like, I like the fact that Geiji basically, like, spat in the faces of fans that were just being that level of dick sucking for their character, that, like, we don't care. The character is officially stronger now. Sukuna has to use Mahoraga to win, so there's no debate anymore. Gojo's officially stronger than Sukuna. Even if Sukuna wins, it's just for plot reasons, but he's not stronger than Gojo. Gojo is our god. You know, like, that's basically the mentality that they had. That was written out of the story. There's no debate anymore. You can't say Gojo stronger, like, Sukuna won, but Gojo's stronger. No. It's done. Sukuna is stronger. Sukuna won without going all out. That's just the way it is. And I think that's what pisses Gojo. So it's two things, right? The off-screen thing, which I can 100% agree with, it's just unsatisfying. The other thing that probably really pisses them off is that they don't have an argument. Like, they had the argument taken away from them. It would be like, you know, it would just be like if Sanji just said straight up, like, Zoro is stronger than me. He can beat me without going all out. You can't argue anything anymore, right? It's just over. And I think that's got to be frustrating, I understand. But at the same time, they can suck a dick because they've been so fucking annoying. And they've jerked off this fictional character for years, and especially in the last several months. So I can sympathize, but at the same time, I'm like, fuck you guys. All-powerful God Animal, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 5 months. Hey, Mr. Marks, I've never seen an author hate one of their own characters as much as Geiji hates Gojo. It's like the Oda/Sanji meme, but actually true. I don't think Geiji hates Gojo. Like, I really don't, because Gojo's the character that, like, Geiji themselves sucks the character off quite a bit. They just finally had somebody else stronger than them. That's it. But you can't tell me that Gojo didn't look amazing throughout most of this fight, that the vast majority of the cool moments, not only in this fight, and throughout the entirety of Jujutsu Kaisen, pretty much everybody's, like, all the coolest moments and all the most, like, fan service and hype, etc. goes to Gojo, right? I understand, like, Geiji has quotes saying that they hate Gojo, but it's author quotes. I don't know how seriously to take those. Geiji might hate, like, how out of control the love for Gojo became and how much that, you know, like, dominated Jujutsu Kaisen conversation, because ultimately Gojo is the main appeal of that series. So Geiji might not have enjoyed that, but it's Geiji themselves that created that, because throughout the story, like, I've never seen another series that hypes up one character as much as it does Gojo in Jujutsu Kaisen, because characters throughout the story will be explaining their abilities, and, like, completely unprompted, they'll just bring up Gojo and be like, yeah, this ability works on pretty much everyone. Oh, except Satoru Gojo. Except Satoru. Like, they'll just bring up the character for no reason. Like, I've never seen it, like, you know, like, we're reading One Piece and we're like, yeah, Shanks is pretty strong, But it's not like characters are mentioning Shanks for no reason all the fucking time to just be like, yeah, my hockey's good, but it's not as good as Shanks's. Like, it'd be like if Katakuri explaining his future side, he's like, yeah, it's the best in the world, except for red-haired Shanks. You know what I mean? Like, I've just never seen that, like, not for Madara in Naruto, not for, like Yamato and, like, Aizen in Bleach. Like, I've never seen just one character individually name dropped over and over and over and over again throughout the series to the degree that Gojo was in Jujutsu Kaisen, right? So Geiji sucks off Gojo plenty. You guys can't be saying sour grapes now just because Gojo lost, because he was supposed to lose at the end of the day, right? Like, there's no problem with being the second strongest character in the entire story next to the villain, because that's just the way most of these overpowered, like, sensei type characters go, you know? That's perfectly fine. Again, like, Geiji, if they actually dislike the character, you know, people say Sanji dislikes Oda because Oda drags Sanji through the mud, very rarely gives him good moments, etc. Geiji sucks off Gojo as much as the fans do, pretty much, right? I know, again, author comments, etc., that supposedly doesn't like Gojo, but it's not reflected in the actual story whatsoever. Never seen an author put a character on a pedestal to the degree that they did with Gojo. It is good that they finally knocked him down one peg, and the worst thing you can say about the character is, okay, second strongest sorcerer and second strongest character in the history of Jujutsu Kaisen, and earned the respect of the strongest villain in the series. That's perfectly fine. Like, you can't, that's nothing even close to, like, Oda and Sanji, you know? Gege Morj? That's how I say it? That's not Gege. Why would it be Gege? That's weird. That just sounds like I'm insulting the, well, no, not insult. You guys know what I mean. Like, I'm going to pronounce it the way I want to pronounce it. Let's catch up on these supers. Crollo versus Spoiler still the best fight. Wait, no. Okay, hold on, I'm in the back. I'm running back a few. Okay. Imagine after getting off screen by Blackbeard, Shanks glazes him hard and says he didn't need one of his devil fruits to win. Poor Gojo fans. I think it's different. Because it wouldn't be like Shanks. It's not the same thing, right? It would be like, instead, imagine Shanks fought Emu, right? And Shanks fought him for 15 straight chapters, had a ton of great moments, a ton of memorable moments that fans, like, jerked off to for a long time, and then finally, at the end, Shanks loses after doing a phenomenal job, better than anybody else could have, and then in the afterlife mentions that Emu ultimately didn't go all out, but then on the flip side, you have Emu saying that that Shanks earned their respect, right? It's the off-screen, like, none of that is bad. Like, it's totally different than Shanks. Like, if Shanks, say it right now, like, if Shanks fought Emu for 15 straight chapters and then lost, would you guys, like, even the most hardcore Shanks fans shouldn't be upset. It's just the Gojo fans, because they've got their heads so far up Gojo's ass. I will say that the off-screen is what sucks, though. The off-screen is not good, in my opinion. Ricky Servin, like, Blackbeard is different, but, like, imagine you have the most, like, the villain that has been built up as, like, the strongest, most unbeatable character, right? You know? Blackbeard's different. GDN, thanks for the 5. First thing Shanks tells Roger in the afterlife is how badly that boy Blackbeard beats him and didn't even go all out. To be fair, like, I think people are exaggerating here. Like, what Shanks said is that he's not sure if, what Gojo's saying is that he's not sure how it would have gone even without Maharaga. Like, it's possible that Sukuna could have won, right? So it's not as cut and dry as people are saying, as people are making it sound. But yeah, like, Gojo's basically acknowledging that, yeah, Sukuna's better. There's nothing wrong with that. Ricky Servin, thanks for the 5. Pretty sure Fraud Joe isn't dead. Realistically, Yuta can hop in and heal Gojo while after Kashimo gets one shot and Hakari and Maki hold off Goat Kuna. I mean, I would love to see Gojo get another shot at it. I'm just, like, okay with the way things are right now. Just not, it's just not a satisfying fight for me to read. That's the main thing. I don't have a problem with the outcome. The outcome is better for the story. It is better for the actual characters that are the main characters of the story. And it makes it not just a stupid fan servicey like narrative with no real point other than like, yeah, we have other characters do stuff, but then this Mary Sue figure just comes in and solves everything, you know? So I'm okay with that. I just don't like the way that, like, I would like to see the conclusion of the fight, please. That's it. Kenny says, is it just me, or is Jujutsu Kaisen ability so overly complex and cluttered? It is not just you at all. I think most people would agree with that. Doing way too much in that series. I will say, though, I used to criticize it more, but with the way things have been going in One Piece, I think I will acknowledge now, I would rather have the ridiculously complicated Jujutsu Kaisen stuff than the vague ass shit that we're dealing with right now. JWP, thanks a lot. Chrollo versus Spoiler is still the best fight. I think it's the best, like, in terms of like those shonen that have these overly complex power systems and getting into the nitty gritty of it, I would say Chrollo versus that guy. I think it's a more fun one to read and follow at the end of the day. This one is ultimately more epic just because it's the entire story. Like, from chapter, it's the entire story has been building to this heavyweight matchup, you know? Chrollo versus Blank from that series, you know, it's a really cool fight. It's ultimately a fight between, you know, side characters, that's like ongoing in the background. Like, there's bigger shit happening, etc. This is there's never been a fight like this in manga that I can recall, where it's the entire story is building essentially to one matchup that everybody wants to see to this degree, right? And like that matchup is just built up over and over and over again. Like, if you were to put this in like UFC or boxing or something like that, like terms, right? The fight promotion for this battle between Gojo and Sukuna is the best I've ever seen in manga. The fight promotion for this is just the best I've ever seen in manga. I can't think of anything else. And I think that's why so many people are talking about it. You know, again, I've never seen anything like this where I'm doing a One Piece stream and all anybody wants to talk about is this other manga, you know? It's like, it's very rare that a single fight, you know, like from a series, like, yeah, Luffy versus Kaido got a ton of traction, but One Piece is also a really popular series. Jujutsu Kaisen is nowhere near as popular, but it's, like, everybody's talking about what just happened in the latest chapter. Naruto versus Sasuke. People are saying Naruto versus Sasuke. The thing is that they've fought before, you know? I could see Naruto versus Sasuke having that. I could see Naruto versus Sasuke. It's just that I feel like this one is different because the question for this is who was stronger. I've never seen that before. You know, Naruto versus Sasuke, everybody wanted to see because, like, these are, like, they're the main character. Like, they're the two characters that the whole dynamic of the story is built around. You just understand story-wise it's really important. But I've never seen another manga where just the question of, like, who's stronger and everyone picking a side and, like, the entire fandom just, like it all revolves around this. You know what I mean? Naruto versus Sasuke wasn't quite like that. Like, the story, the characters, the dynamic between the two characters, that all mattered more. You guys get what I'm saying? Like, just the debate of Gojo versus Sukuna and everything leading up towards that. That's what I mean more by, like, just fight promotion. Like, who's gonna win? Like, is my dad stronger than your dad? That's the question that everybody had with Gojo versus Sukuna. I've never seen anything built up quite like that in a series before. Bunfagum, thanks for the 5. I really wanted to see a back and forth. Instead, we got Sukuna getting beat up for 5 chapters, only for him to one-shot Gojo out of the blue. Yeah, I think the actual fight itself, you need to show how the turnaround happened, I personally think. Like, it's just, it feels too weird, and it's not an enjoyable fight on reread, in my opinion, for that reason. Behanor, thanks for a lot. Everyone losing their shit because of power scaling and major character's death. Meanwhile, I'm feasting on that toxic, doomed yaoi. That's funny. Black Optimus Primus, thanks. Geiju said he forgot to draw a chapter in his author comment. Is there any validity to this statement in your opinion? What? I don't know. I haven't looked into that, but I doubt that. Like, is that actually true? That seems unlikely to me. My goat sleeping dangerous is my goat Kashimo coming in looking clean to die. Maybe a stall tactic or something. Like, ultimately, it's got to be the heroes, the protagonists, right? Yuji and shit that solve this. I am gonna wrap the stream shortly. Bunfagum says Sukuna is what Kaido should have been. I'm not gonna get into that. Pat Galley says, remember when we all thought Hunter x Hunter was actually back? I do think that I saw somewhere that a new chapter is coming out soon or something. I might be crazy. GDN, thanks for the 5. Gojo fans get no consolation prize. That one time technique Kashimo saved 400 years for Sukuna is going to go crazy like the 8th gate. Yeah, I don't know enough about... Like, I skipped so much of the culling game, so I don't know enough to say anything about that. Like, what Kashimo's going to do or whatever. But yeah, I guess that's the big thing, which is that there's just nothing that they can really hang their hat on. That's the problem, which is that if you're a Gojo fan, it's because he's the strongest, right? Are you Satoru Gojo because you're the strongest, or are you strongest because you're Satoru Gojo? Like, it was just having this, like, you know, shonen manga, they've had the Kakashis, they've had the Yamis, etc. They've had these cool sensei figures before. They've never had one that's just so overwhelmingly, like, broke and powerful. Like, Gojo's a really cool power fantasy in that sense. Like, you know, normally the super strong guys are, like, really fucking old, like Yamamoto and Bleach or something like that, right? Like, not some cool young character that, like, you know, has a fun... like, you know, fun, personality and everything like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Gojo really is just this power fantasy character in a sense, right? Like, and a fantasy character in every sense, in that, like, you know, Gojo's supposed to be really, really good looking, and, like, everybody really likes him, and he's not this old ancient dude or anything like that, and he's, like, not like those stuffy higher ups or anything like that. And he can do whatever he wants, and he gets away with it. That's the appeal of Gojo as a character. And I understand that. Like, Gojo's so fun to watch, and he really is, like, the most unique aspect of Jujutsu Kaisen at the end of the day. Like, he is the appeal of that series. So to see that kind of stripped away, and suddenly, like, he's not the strongest, he's number 2, it kind of shatters a lot of what people really, really loved about that character. Understandably so. When you write a character and the main appeal is that on top of everything else, once you break that and you don't give readers a sort of consolation prize, I can understand them feeling somewhat betrayed. But at the same time, it kind of just had to happen. I think that at the end of the day, having a character that's just so, like, so much better than everybody else in all of these categories, etc., and just such a, like, god amongst everybody, etc., and they're a protagonist, I think at some point you need to humble them or something like that in some way, you know? Because usually we watch a hero, like a main character, have to fight and go through arcs and character growth to eventually get to the point of being number 1. But Gojo's just this fantasy figure of just, like, I'm the best, and, like, you know, S3 Studio says Gojo's a Gary Stu. Yeah, Gojo is essentially a Gary Stu. I mean, like, what is there to say about him? Like, tactically he's brilliant. He has the, like, he sees all of the correct decisions and everything like that. He's supposed to be so good looking, etc. All the women love him. He's godlike in his abilities, so far above everybody else. All the higher ups are always wrong. Gojo's always right. The students all respect. Like, you know, there's no... That's the appeal of Gojo, right? And then on top of all that, he's really funny and he's really entertaining, right? And he's like this mischievous figure and everything like that. It's very, very likable, but his appeal is he's this power fantasy, right? So when readers are really upset that, like, you broke our power fantasy, it's like, yeah, too bad. That's like, ultimately that's good for fan service. Like, he's a great fan servicey character, but it works better if he's not the strongest by the end. Lolo Karenix says Gojo fails all the time. His failures are never a consequence of him being too weak, though. His failures are like of him being incapable in some way, right? If anything, his failures are like he's so good that nobody else can keep up, like working with him or something like that, so he thrives by himself. Gojo is not written to be a particularly like he like no matter how you spin it, he's a like, he's not really anything but like a serious power fantasy for like, oh my god, like this character is so cool, so badass, so godlike, etc. Right? Like when you have all the villain, like his failure is like when all the villains scheme together to find one way to take him out of the picture, and the only way it works is because Gojo's too good to work with anybody else. You know, that sets up for a nice lesson, which is Gojo by himself can't beat Sukuna, right? But other main characters, etc., working together can, therefore tying together themes, blah 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 blah. Right? That's good shit. John678, thanks for the 2. Explain Jujutsu Kaisen in One Piece terms. I don't read it. I think it's hard. I mean, I don't know how to explain it in One Piece terms. I don't think it translates well to One Piece terms. I really don't think it translates well to One Piece terms. There's just nothing comparable. There's a character that is... Like, imagine if Shanks... Like, take Shanks, but imagine if Shanks was hyped, like, 50 million times more. And, like, he's way strong. Like, he's supposed to be way stronger than Mihawk and Whitebeard and all that stuff. And, like, way more of a presence in the story. And, like, everybody's been waiting for a long time for Shanks to fight, like, the greatest bad guy in history or something. And then Shanks fights the greatest bad guy in history. And Shanks is actually winning. And then suddenly we get a chapter where it's revealed that Shanks was defeated. But the defeat was off-screen. And Shanks is in the afterlife saying, like, yeah, there's no way I could have won. Or, like... The other guy held back or something like that. People would be disappointed. I get it. But for me, it's more so the manner in which it happened. I'm okay with what happened. GDN says Kashima will have a cooler fight than Gojo. Watch. I don't know. Bunfagun, thanks. Sukuna is what Kaido should... Okay, we covered this. JWP, thanks for the 5. This fight had people talking about it like it was a real-life UFC fight. That's the thing. Like, there's never been anything like that I've seen. Because... Again, Naruto-Sasuke, it's a cool fight, but, like, ultimately, you probably know that Naruto's going to win or they're going to draw or something at the end of the day. Like, and it's a story-based fight. They already beat Kaguya and stuff like that. Like, it's just to check off the character stuff. This really was, like, a heavyweight. Like, it felt like the entire series was fucking promoting this one heavyweight fight. And, you know, it went down in a way people didn't love, which I don't know what that means for the series, but we'll see. The Outback Pandas, thanks a lot. I can't help but be reminded of Tokyo Ghoul Re, which did something similar and off-screen the whole fight between the two strongest, essentially. That is stupid. I just don't know why we would do that. The reason I say Shanks is because my feeling is that in the community, Shanks is that one, like, cool, like, that cool figure with a lot of hype or aura or whatever, basically, that... readers kind of put on a pedestal. But just imagine if he was way above everybody else and then like finally he fights somebody from like 1,000 years ago and then he loses. There's not really a comparison. Minako Aristo says everyone knew Gojo couldn't win because of the story. Yeah, but I think everybody still wanted Gojo to come away looking at least equal to Sukuna, and they didn't get that. And again, understandably, I understand why people are not happy about it, because the whole, as I'm saying, the whole appeal of Gojo is just this broke ass, cool, just this like fan servicey, like, you know, fan servicey awesome character, right? Can do anything. Everybody loves him. Everyone respects him. All the bad guys fear him. Like, his name is spoken basically like he's Jesus throughout the story. Again, like, the amount of times he's name dropped, like, yeah, I'm the best, except for Satoru Gojo. I'm the best at this technique. Oh, except for Gojo. I could do anything except for Gojo. Like, it happens all the time. People talk about him all the time. And then now he's done. And now he's number 2, which is not bad at the end of the day, but, like, I do think it's good that kind of got shattered, even if I really liked the character initially. Hesitant says Mihawk over him, but yeah, I agree. I'm not debating Shanks versus Mihawk. I'm just saying, like, I think how the community in general talks about a certain character, I feel like Shanks is how the community talks about. You know, I think he's the cool guy that, like, the cool older figure or whatever that, you know, everybody just really hypes up. JWP, thanks for the 2. You should read Danadan. It has insane art. I ever tried that? I will check it out possibly at some point, but I've got a lot on the list at the moment. Morio Anime says Morj hates Gojo. I hate Gojo fans, but Gojo was my favorite part about Jujutsu Kaisen. When I was reading, Gojo was my favorite part about Jujutsu Kaisen. I don't hate Gojo, but I can also recognize him for what he is, which is just like, yeah, it's impossible to dislike this character. Like, while I'm reading it, I'm like, yeah, they basically just wrote like, it's impossible to dislike this character. Like, his ability is so fucking cool. It is one of the coolest abilities in manga, right? Like, the infinity and all of its applications of it is so sick, right? So the ability is awesome. I love how broke it is in that story. It's amazing just seeing a character just like destroy all these supposedly really strong curses and stuff like that with this godlike ability. And then he's written to be everything. Like, he's written to be really funny. He's written to be really irreverent. Like, everybody likes these sort of rebellious figures that don't follow the man or whatever. And Gojo's exactly like that, right? Gojo does whatever he wants. He is this fantasy character, right? Like, everybody loves Gojo. Everybody either loves Gojo or fears Gojo, right? And that's, again, playing into a certain sort of fantasy. It's just like he's written to have like perfect eyes and stuff like that, right? Like, just perfect crystal blue eyes. Like, everything about the character makes it hard to dislike this character unless you want to dislike him just for the sake of disliking him. He's just written to be this this amazing, perfect fantasy figure, right? So for Gojo, it's just like, yeah, at a certain point though, you need to cut the fan service shit out and just like have this character actually get broken and humbled in some way. That's just the way. Starting Sakamoto days? Alright, maybe. Alright, guys. I'm gonna call the stream here. The thing is, if I was more invested in Jujutsu Kaisen, and like, if I was reading the series more regularly, then maybe I would be like, Gojo was the character that was most entertaining to follow in the story, right? I'm just not that invested in the story that I cared that much. I just thought it's cool we're seeing this big heavyweight fight. And Gojo fans annoyed me a lot. So over time, I was just like, if I was more invested in the story, then maybe I'd be more upset at the way things went down with Gojo. But sitting back from the outside perspective, it's more just like, yeah, that was my favorite part of the series. That was the character that was the most fun part of the series. But we all knew he ultimately had to go. Could it have been done more ceremoniously? Yes. The bigger thing is I think they just ruined the fight by not showing the climax and the turnaround of the fight. I think you got to show that part. Otherwise, it's just not a fun fight anymore. So again, okay with the outcome. It is what it is. How it was done, don't like it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, I will talk to you all later. Peace.